Hello and welcome to this pattern recognition video featuring fork patterns. So I had a request from a subscriber to do more common patterns that happen, in regular games. So I'm going to do a series of videos. This one is on forks, but I'll do pins, discovered attacks, things that happen more often instead of, obscure tactics. And if you want to work on a specific tactic, well, then you can just pick the playlist or video on that specific tactic. So here we have forks in this position. Let's see what happened. The queen has just moved over here attacking our bishop. So what does black do here? If we take this knight, they'll just take the bishop with check. So maybe we have a better move. And a guideline is to look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. And I had a very good question by a subscriber who asked, well, do you always need to look at those? Not always, but it helps to get in that habit of looking especially at checks, because you don't want to be surprised by a nasty check here. And we know we're looking for a fork. The bishop is not going to have much ability to fork in this position, but the queen. And so hopefully, pause the video if you want to take a look, especially the beginners out there. But if not, here we go. We're going to fork the king and the bishop here. But instead of going after that bishop, maybe we have something better, because we're going to give a check. And the king is very limited on what it can do. Remember, when a king is being attacked and they're in check, they have 3 or less options. Capture the attacker, and that's not possible to attack the queen if it goes to e2. Block, nothing can block, so that leaves the 3rd option, and that's for the king to run. So the king can only run here or here, and both of those will lead to a checkmate. So check, and then, if we go here, now we have checkmate. All right, on to puzzle number 2. Let's see here. Now I have these set up for beginner level. These will hopefully be a good way to go over the basics. But if you're a more advanced player, stay tuned. In the future I'll have more difficult, higher rated puzzles with forks here. Okay, so what happened? The knight just moved forward here. What forks do we have with the black pieces? Oh, we're in check, so we have to deal with that. All right. Well, hopefully you found the answer here. Take a look at it. We have the queen, and the queen can be very dangerous if the king is open here. So perhaps, and we're in check, so we have to deal with that. So if we take the attacker here and the rook recaptures, well, then we can accomplish a fork here, attacking the king and the rook at the same time. And we grab material. So check, well, not check, this is a check, and now we capture. All right, well, I hope you did well on that one. Let's move on to puzzle number 3. So we just had a capture of a pawn. Now our rook is under attack. We're looking for a fork possibility. All right, hopefully you found this one. We're going to go ahead and capture here, forking the king and the bishop. So there we go. And now we're also protecting this pawn from the rook here. All right, problem number 4. The bishop was under attack. It drops back where it's protected by the rook now. But that doesn't matter, because we have a nasty fork here with a check. So if we look at checks first, because they are the most forcing, we go here, forking the king and the rook. So if the rook captures, Then our other rook captures, forking king and bishop as well. So check, check, and we go ahead grabbing that bishop. All right, on to problem number 5. Queen has slid over here, attacking our knight. Now, I guess the bishop was attacking the queen. That's why it had to move. Oh, but that leaves the opponent open for a fork attack. But this could get dangerous here. I mean, right now, if we look at material, we have 6 pawns. Our opponent has 5. We have 3 minor pieces, so do they. Queens and rooks. We can capture here, forking the rook and the queen. But then I'm worried about that move counterattacking, threaten to take with check, and then grab our other rook. But at least here, we're forking. And I don't know, I would say if they go here, what should we do next? Maybe we just move here, protecting our rook by the king, and we're still attacking that rook. All right, on to problem number 6. Knight has dropped back, targeting the pawn. But that does not look good because our opponent is open for a back rank mate there. So hopefully you found that. Is there really any forking going on here? I don't think there was. I guess with these lower rated problems, that's the issue sometimes. All right, on to problem number 7. The rook is just captured. Now what? With white to move. Oh, great little fork attack here. So this is a good pattern. We'll pause the video if you need more time. If not, we're going to check, forcing the king to move here. And then we fork the king and the rook here and grab that rook. So check, fork, and capture. All right, on to problem number 8. We just had a capture. Now, what forking possibilities do we have? Okay. Well, pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. We're going to look at checks first. So check. The only move possible here is to block, but then we can take the rook, forcing them to block again, and then we could trade queens because we would be ahead in material then. So check, check. Now they have to block with the queen. We can trade off queens, and we will have an extra rook. All right, on to problem number 9. We just had a capture. So what fork possibility do we have in this position? Oh, okay, great pattern here. Pause the video, see if you can find it. If you're ready, here we go. Okay, we see that this pin is happening, so we can just bring our knight up here, forking the king and the queen here. So check, and the king was, or the queen was pinning that pawn, so it allows us to capture there. All right, the final problem, number 10. So what do we have here? Rook versus knight. The rook grabs the open file, but it's not a good move for our opponent because of the fork. So hopefully you found it. We're going to jump our knight here, forking the king and grabbing the rook. So check, and then we go ahead in material. And we're also attacking that pawn, so we should be winning. Okay, I hope you did well in those puzzles. Feel free to leave comments, like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for watching. Have a super chess day.